He was only my patient until my heart made a choice I never expected. I still remember the morning I first saw him, a bitter winter day in Chicago. The kind where snow spirals endlessly before melting against the tall hospital windows. Inside, the familiar scent of antiseptic mixed with the warmth of fresh coffee, a smell that had become part of my routine. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I was 36 then, a cardiac nurse with more than 10 years behind me. I'd witnessed families fall apart and come back together. Carried the stories of strangers like quiet shadows, and by that point, I believed nothing could truly surprise me. But then Michael Lawson arrived. He was 42, brought in after collapsing at work. A construction supervisor's strong, broad-shouldered, the kind of man who probably never imagined he'd end up lying in a hospital bed. Yet that day, he looked fragile in a way that tugged at me. His skin was pale, his breathing uneven, but his eyes held a steady, tired strength that caught my attention. He wasn't even my first patient that morning, but something about him made me pause longer than I should have. "Mr. Lawson, I'm Sarah," I said while adjusting his monitors. "You're in the cardiac unit. You gave us all quite a scare." He managed a weak smile. "Michael, please. Mr. Lawson makes me feel like I'm getting scolded at school." There was a spark in his voice, a humor meant to hide the fear I could see clearly. I'd heard that tone from many patients before, but with him it lingered. Over the next week, Michael became part of my daily rounds. His heart had shown signs of strain, and the doctors wanted him monitored closely. He disliked the hospital meals, so his teenage daughter Emily brought takeout whenever she could. Emily was 16, soft-spoken, with long brown hair that reminded me of my own younger reflection. I became familiar with both of them quickly. Michael shared stories about construction sites, about the men who worked under him, and the satisfaction he felt watching a building rise from bare ground. He talked about Emily too, how she was bright, stubborn, and the center of his entire life. Her mother had left years earlier, and since then it had been just the two of them. I admired him for that. My own father had raised me after my mom passed away, so Michael's devotion touched something deep inside me. One evening while I was checking his vitals, he asked softly, "Do you ever feel like life just slipped past you?" The question caught me off guard. "What do you mean?" I asked. He stared at the ceiling. "I worked, took care of Emily, did everything I was supposed to do, but sometimes I wonder if I forgot how to live for myself, if I missed pieces I should have kept." His words settled heavily in me because I'd wondered the same. At 36, after a marriage that ended when my husband found someone else, I had no children, despite once wanting them desperately. I poured myself into nursing into other people's families, other people's heartbreaks, and sometimes, alone late at night, I wondered if I had given too much of myself away. We found comfort in small conversations like that, shared during slow evenings when the ward quieted down. I told him about my love for books, how I disappeared into old novels when the world felt too heavy. He told me about Emily's dream to become an architect, how she filled her notebooks with sketches of houses and buildings. We laughed about silly things too, like the way his heart monitor beeped faster every time the Bears scored on the TV. When he was finally discharged, I assumed that was the end. Patients come and go, and I had learned early on to keep emotional distance. But a month later, on a Saturday morning, someone called my name in the grocery store parking lot. I turned to see Michael standing there with Emily. He looked stronger, healthier, a grocery bag in one hand, and an easy smile that felt strangely familiar. We talked for a few minutes. Emily thanked me for taking care of her father, her voice shy but sincere. Before we parted, Michael asked, "Would you maybe like to have coffee with me sometime?" As a thank you. I should have said no. Nurses aren't supposed to blur that line, but something inside me hesitated and then shifted. "Sure," I said, surprising myself more than him. Coffee became dinner. Dinner turned into long walks by the lake. Walks turned into movie nights with Emily squeezed between us, rolling her eyes at her dad's terrible jokes. Nothing about it was rushed or reckless. It was slow, gentle like sunrise, moving across the sky. I found myself waiting for his calls, for the way his voice softened when he said my name. Emily started coming to me with questions about life, school, and dreams she didn't always want to share with her dad. I realized then that this was more than attraction, it was the possibility of a family, I thought. I'd lost forever. But with hope came fear. Was I crossing a line I shouldn't? Was I betraying my profession? Was I ready to be someone's partner again? Or even someone's mother figure? One evening, after Emily went to bed, Michael and I sat on his porch. The summer air was thick with the sound of cicadas. He looked at me with those calm blue eyes. "I know you were my nurse first, and maybe this is complicated," he said, "but Sarah, you make me feel alive again, like I have a second chance. I don't want to lose that." Tears stung my eyes because he was saying the words I'd been too afraid to speak. "I'm scared," I whispered. He took my hand gently. "Me too. Maybe that's why it matters."